I never imagined I'd see a grown woman in fancy cropped pants cackling like a madwoman while blasting a group of innocent sheep with a fire hose. Then again, I never thought my life would turn into a bizarre episode of Neighborhood Wars, Farm Edition. There I was, groceries still in hand, watching my peaceful flock graze under the morning sun, their soft bleats filling the air like a gentle lullaby. Suddenly, a jet of water exploded out of nowhere, sending wool flying, hooves skittering, and Lisa Vandermeer laughing like a daytime TV villain. I stood frozen at the top of my driveway as my prize ewe, Daisy, executed a perfect backflip into the water trough, like we'd stumbled into the Sheep Olympics. It all started with a fence. Just a simple wooden divide between my modest ranch and the pastel-colored chaos of Pinecrest Estates. A gated community ruled by a homeowners association stricter than a drill sergeant's handbook. I hadn't planned to live next to HOA fanatics, but the land was a dream. Lush pastures, a sturdy house, and a barn already in place. It felt like destiny, or maybe a cruel prank. The trouble began the moment Lisa Vandermeer, HOA president and self-appointed suburban queen, spotted me unloading sheep from my trailer. To her, I wasn't just a neighbor, I was an enemy. My property wasn't under her jurisdiction, and that made it personal. Lisa wore her title like a badge of honor, armed with laminated charts, a megaphone, and a yappy terrier named Duke dressed in a tiny bow tie. She once fined a neighbor for planting tulips that didn't match the community's calm palette. So you can guess how she felt about a guy with 24 sheep and a ram named Odin moving in next door. She despised my animals, calling them noisy fluff beasts that tanked property values with their mere existence. She even sent me a handwritten note on embossed stationery, demanding I teach my sheep proper etiquette. I tried to ignore her. I'm not the fighting type. I built a taller fence, shifted the feeding area to the far end of my land, and even trained Odin to stop ramming the fence on cue, though it was hilarious watching Lisa jump like a startled cartoon character. Nothing worked. She found new complaints weekly, too much bleeding at sunrise one day, reckless sheep inviting predators the next. That day, though, she crossed a line. I pulled into my driveway, and there she was, wielding a commercial-grade fire hose hooked to a hydrant just outside Pinecrest Community Fire Station. A bored-looking maintenance worker stood nearby, clipboard in hand, as she shrieked, "This one's filthy! And time for a bath, fluffies!" with the glee of a kid tormenting bugs. My lambs scattered in terror. One, barely 2 months old, cowered under a bench, shivering, while another tried climbing a feed bin in a panic. Odin glared through the mist like a warrior ready to charge. I dropped my groceries, eggs smashed, a bottle of Italian dressing rolled down the gravel, and shouted, "What the hell are you doing, Lisa?" She barely flinched, her smirk unwavering. "They looked hot," she yelled over the water's roar. "I'm doing a public service." The nerve of it nearly floored me. "Turn it off," I warned. "This is animal abuse." She raised an eyebrow and quipped, "I thought they liked it. They didn't complain." I rushed to Daisy, checking her for injuries, my hands trembling with fury. Her legs shook from where she'd slipped against the trough. Odin stood beside her, staring Lisa down with a look that could have melted steel. For a split second, she hesitated, as if some ancient instinct kicked in. Then she scoffed, dropped the hose, and strutted off, muttering about ungrateful farm trash. The maintenance guy shrugged apologetically and dragged the hose away. I spent the rest of the day cleaning mud from wool, bandaging Daisy's leg, and whispering apologies to my shaken flock. As the sun set, one thought burned in my mind. This wasn't over. Lisa had gone too far, and I had a ram with a grudge and a very long memory. 3 days later, she doubled down. Instead of apologizing, she filed a complaint with animal control, claiming I was running an unauthorized livestock circus. The officer who showed up looked baffled. After inspecting the pasture, barn, and sheep, and stopping to scratch Odin behind the ears, he shrugged and said, "They seem fine to me." He even asked to snap a photo of Odin for his daughter, saying rams and sunglasses, yes. I dress him up sometimes. We're Instagram material. The visit proved what I already knew. Lisa was escalating, and I had to act before she went further. She wasn't just a nosy neighbor. She was a control freak who saw me as a blight on her perfect little empire. So I took the fight to her turf, the HOA meetings. I wasn't a member, so I couldn't vote, but nothing stopped me from attending. Every Tuesday, I showed up at the Pinecrest Recreation Hall in my faded plaid shirt and muddy jeans, sipping coffee from a thermos shaped like a sheep. Lisa's eye twitched every time I raised my hand in the open discussion, though she never called on me. The meetings were absurd. Lisa ruled from the front table like a dictator, issuing fines for unapproved wind chimes and announcing rules like they were sacred laws. She once banned Halloween decorations over 2 feet tall because an inflatable ghost disrupted the vibe. When she revealed plans for a community mascot to symbolize unity and order, I nearly spat out my coffee. She thrived on control, her whole identity tied to this pristine suburban fantasy. To beat her, I didn't need a brawl. I just needed to shatter that image. That's when I turned to Odin. He was a beast, twice my size, pure muscle, with a temper somewhere between a tank and a bouncer. He was sharp, too. Not balance your checkbook sharp, but he knew faces, routines, and signals. And he hated water hoses after Lisa's stunt. So I trained him. Nothing fancy, just games. A bell meant sidestep, a whistle meant charge, a soda can pop meant go time. We practiced in the pasture with hay bales and old lawn ornaments. He loved it, and it started feeling like fate. The next HOA event was the spring renewal kickoff, an outdoor spectacle in the community garden with cupcakes, a stage, and the mascot reveal. Lisa was set to give a speech, and the local paper would cover it. I rigged a hidden gate in the fence between my land and the garden, camouflaged with brush and an old wheelbarrow. A rope tied to my boot would release it. The plan? Wait for the right moment, signal Odin, and let him loose. But first, I needed dirt. I strapped a tiny camera to one of my sheep's collars inside a hollowed-out salt lick and let her graze near the fence during setup. The footage was a gold mine. Lisa berating volunteers, threatening a kid over spilled juice, and kicking a garden statue for looking smug. Best of all, she'd installed motion-activated sprinklers around the garden, high-pressure ones meant to deter trespassers. I tested them with a stick. They sprayed like mini fire hoses. If Odin hit them, his water-fueled fury would aim straight at Lisa's big day. I timed her speech, mapped the layout, and recruited Agnes, an 80-year-old ex-HOA member with a grudge and a walkie-talkie. She'd been fined for wanting a fish pond years back and was eager to help. Everything was set. The day arrived, clear skies, calm air, and Lisa in full dictator mode, wearing a sash that screamed, HOA President. The garden filled with chairs, snacks, and a teenage string quartet. A kid in a foam squirrel costume, the mascot, waddled in, tripping over his tail. I blended into the crowd, cap low, soda can in hand. Agnes nodded from the lemonade table. Lisa took the stage, launching into a rant about community standards and jabbing at certain outsiders. That was my cue. I cracked the can. Odin burst through the gate like a woolly torpedo. The sprinklers hissed to life, and he charged, snorting like a freight train. Lisa froze as he barreled past, toppling the squirrel kid into a cupcake tray. She bolted, heels clacking, but Odin cornered her by the gazebo. Guests fled, chairs flew, and someone's speaker blared epic music. Agnes hit play. Lisa's voice boomed. These idiots can't spell taste, and vegetables are a crime. The crowd gaped. Then Odin launched her into the koi fountain with a splash that soaked the garden. She flailed, mascara running, sash sinking into the mud. Laughter erupted. The HOA vice president called off the event as Lisa slipped on a ceramic fish and fell back in. Odin strutted off, job done. I patted his head, and Agnes handed me her tablet. Your show, she said. The video, titled HOA Tyrant Meets Ram Justice, went viral, hitting 1 million views by nightfall. Lisa quit for health reasons. Agnes took over, unbanned garden statues, and sent me an apology basket. Odin got a medal, the squirrel kid got therapy, and my sheep grazed in peace. A note appeared on my gate. Beware the wool posse. I grinned, tucked it away, and told Odin, you're a legend, pal. Lisa never came near the fence again.